Okay. I have exactly 0 notes, so bear with me as I try to talk about this book and get this video out there. I don't have any notes because I didn't think I was going to film about it, you know, talk about it in video. I was just gonna write a review, but I can't. It's criminal not to talk about it because I really loved it. A while ago, I've talked to you about a book. And just like this time, my first encounter with this universe, I didn't think I was gonna love it as much, and I didn't prepare notes, and I didn't prepare anything, and I ended up creating about 3 different videos talking about the damn book, and still remained in contact with the author because she's absolutely amazing, but let's get into that later. So, if you remember, I sat and I talked to you about a book called Queens of MOIRAI by an amazing author called Rhiannon Hargadon. Just to refresh your memory, if you've forgotten, it follows the 3 fates, a descendant of the 3 fates who are in Greek mythology, Atropos, Clotho, and Lachesis. Clotho being life, and then Lachesis time, and Atropos being death herself. I guarantee if you're into Greek mythology, if you're into mythology, like as a whole, you've seen stuff like this, you've met images like this, and you've met the stories about the thread of life and the creation of life and the thread being time and all that, and the fate that cuts the thread of life, that being Atropos, death and all. This follows a descendant. Well, Queens of MOIRAI follow the descendant of Atropos, Marina. I loved her. I loved the book so much. I think, if I remember correctly, I rated it 4.5 or a 5. I think I loved it so much, and after I talked to the author, I loved it even more because she's such an amazing person. So book 2 in the series just came out. I've been waiting since I've read book 1. Book 2 is written after book 1, but now book 2 in the universe is set before book 1, so it's technically book 1, but it came out as book 2, and I just read it and finished it. I need to talk to you about it. So, it is called The Queen of the Blood Throne. This is what it looks like. Hence the makeup. In the first book that I've read, Queens of MOIRAI, I've met a character that I hated. Her name was Melinda, and she was known in the universe as the Mad Queen, and the bloodthirsty queen, the Mad Queen of the Blood Throne, all the bad stuff you can get as a ruler, and she was the ruler of the Kingdom of Death. She was basically the Queen of Death, and she had an army of zombies called the Cullens, who are made like using this incredibly interesting dark magic grim system, which we're gonna get into in a little bit. Like I said, I have no notes, so I'm just speaking, like I'm talking about the stuff that I remember, the stuff that it made me feel, and it's gonna be a mess, and I apologize for that. And I just remembered that I didn't ask how you are, so hi, how are you? Please let me know how you're doing. If you're not okay, let's talk about it. I do hope you're doing okay though. Let's get back to the book. So in this one, Queen of the Blood Throne, we are following Melinda herself. It is her origin story, and let me just tell you, I'm not a huge fan of origin stories. I don't mind them, you know, in other form of media. I don't mind them in movies and shows and all that, but I'm not the biggest fan of them in books. I have never gravitated towards an origin story. Like, even if there's a story that I absolutely love, if I'm out of that universe, I either only want to remain in the universe that I've read. I don't know if this is making sense. Like, for example, I've read The Six of Crows, love Six of Crows, and then there's like the Shadow and Bone trilogy, in which we get more about like some origin stories, and we get more about the magic system. We got more of everything, but I refuse to read it. I will not read it because I just want my comfort, which was Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I don't want to be back in the universe, but like in a different way. I just want that. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone. If it doesn't, just ignore this part. But I don't like to go back in books. Like, I don't like when authors release origin stories and then you read them to know more. Like, I that doesn't work for me. I don't know. And I did not know that it would be like that with this one. When I got it, I just got it because I knew that I liked the author and I wanted to support them, and I knew that I loved the first one. I didn't even check the summary. I didn't even know, really. Like, I didn't know. I got it, and I knew that it was part of the universe, and I got it because I was excited about being back in the universe. But it is Melinda's origin story, and lo and behold, I actually not even liked it, I loved it. I really, really, really loved it. So let's talk about the story. Hopefully without spoiling anything. I'm gonna try my best, but I'm gonna put something on the screen in case I spoil something and I did not want to take it out of the video for context and stuff. We start with Melinda, who is a teenager. Wow, who is a teenager? She is oh my god, she's 19. She's 19, about to turn 20. I'm not gonna tell you how she was born and what led her to living in a certain place. I don't want to say that because I want you to read that for yourself. It was interesting, really interesting. But she ends up being a thief, a crook, a busker. She ends up being for the streets, not like that, but like for the streets in a like a thievery way, you know. And I loved that origin story. Like I loved that part so much. You wouldn't expect it. Just reading Queens of MOIRAI, you would not expect Melinda to be like that, if that makes sense. But it felt natural. Like I was scared that it wasn't gonna feel natural when I started reading it, but it felt so natural and the progression was smooth. It was in place. Everything just fit perfectly for the character, for the setting, for the plot, for the story, for what we got in Queens of MOIRAI. Like everything just fit. One day though, she meets a person, we meet a new character, and he ends up being the Prince of Darkness. His name is Melchior, and she ends up striking a deal with him because she's a thief, she's a busker, she's a crook, and she's known and she's the best actually in the streets in that neighborhood. She gets asked to take something, to steal something from Death herself, from Atropos, the third fate, like actual death. We go back with her to Grace Castle, which is where Death resides. And so begins the adventure of her looking for the item that we are supposed to steal. But then one thing leads to another and we end up in a completely different situation than what we were supposed to be in. From love to surprising marriage to death after death after death, and a very, very, very interesting and enthralling magic system. It was one heck of an adventure. The characters were all amazing. From Death to Melinda, to Melchior, to the love interest we had, to the friendship. They were all amazing and I loved every one of them, even the ones that I hated. And let me tell you, there was a bitch that I hated. Like, I hated. And she was, like, I wanted to do this because the cover looks like this. Like, I wanted to match the cover. But the character that I hated so much, like, her color, her vibe is blue. And I struggled to do this to match the cover, actually. Like, I really, really hated her. And that just goes to show how well the rating is, like how attached it gets you. Plot was awesome. The plot was amazing. It was like one of the best things about the book. Sometimes I would love a book, but the plot is but I would still like it because of the aesthetic, because of the vibe that it gives me. Twilight. It sucked ass, but the vibe, you know. But this one, the plot is absolutely amazing. Not to compare, I'm not comparing books, I'm just giving you an example of what I mean. But the plot was amazing. The progression was awesome. The twists and turns we had were incredible, and I didn't see stuff coming, even though I like deducing things and I'm really, really good at deducing things, but I didn't see certain things coming. The magic system, like I said, was awesome, was absolutely magical, enthralling, exciting, and absolutely amazing. I don't know, like, it kept me interested all the way through. Each little bit, like, we would learn something new about the magic system. We would learn a new spell, we would learn a new craft. Oh, the spells, by the way. So in Grace Castle, she roams around looking for a specific thing, and she finds out a library filled with grimoires, and grimoire is basically a shadow book, like a book that accompanies witches and stuff and practitioners and stuff, and it's filled with incantations, with spells, with potions and stuff like that. And we actually, in the book, we get pieces of the grimoires, and that was such a cool touch. That was a really, really like interesting and cool add-on that was completely unnecessary, but it was amazing. Like, it just added goodness to the book. It added more chef's kisses, and I like that part so much. I like going through them, I liked reading them, and it puts you more into there. It puts you more in the universe, you know? It sucks you up more. It gets you. Speaking of the setting that it sucks you in, the setting was awesome. I think it was my favorite part of the entire book. The aesthetic, the vibe that it gives you. I kept reading this at night for hours and hours and hours. Did not want to stop, did not want to put it down, because it just transported me into this setting. If you want to be there or not, that's on you, but I personally love to be there. It's grim, it's dark, it's filled with death and magic and mythical creatures and I don't know, witchcraft and shit, and I love that. What else have I not mentioned? The spice level. Oh my god, I actually texted the author when I reached the first spicy scene, and I told her how hot it was, how amazing it was, and it was so surprising to me that she doesn't, I don't feel like she does like a good job writing spicy scenes, and that was so like mind-boggling to me because it was so cool. It felt natural, it felt good, it was hot, it was I don't know how it was interactive with the reader. I don't know if I'm explaining this right. It just felt natural, you know, it didn't feel forced. Even though the book as a whole checks out a lot of genres, a lot of now like hyped genres, romantasy, the add-on spice, the like kind of touch her and you die, the shadow daddy, all of those are checked in the book, but none of them felt forceful. None of them felt like they were there because it's a hyped genre now. It felt like it's a passion project. It felt like it's a passion project from the author, and it actually is after speaking with the author, and it feels like that. Like that whole point translates to the reader. It did for me, at least. There's gonna be more in the series, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait to read them and talk to you about them. But for now, it was amazing. I personally really loved it. I hope this makes sense. Like, I've been filming for like 40 minutes now, and it's just a jumble mumble of me, you know, just all over the place. I'm gonna try to produce something out of this because I really want you to hear about the book. Other than that though, thank you for watching. If you've watched, I love you, and I'm gonna see you next video.